In the bustling city of Lagos, the story of the woman who left 3 grooms at the altar had become the talk of the town. Journalists, gossipers, and even the public had given her the notorious title, the Runaway Bride. Ike, a tenacious journalist known for his passion for scandal, decided to take it upon himself to uncover the woman behind the headlines. He was determined to uncover the truth, to find out why she had repeatedly fled from the altar. Armed with his camera, notebook, and a stubborn determination to expose her for the world to see, Ike set his sights on the village she had come from, deep in Igbo land. As Ike boarded a flight to the heart of Nigeria's eastern region, he couldn't help but wonder about the woman's past. What kind of woman would leave 3 men standing at the altar? To the public, she was a villain, someone who enjoyed the drama and chaos her actions stirred. But to Ike, she was a story, one that would not be easily forgotten. He was about to enter a world far from the chaotic streets of Lagos, a world that might hold the answers he sought. Ike's journey took him through lush greenery and winding roads as he headed further into Igbo land. The village he was headed to was known for its quiet beauty, rich history, and deep-rooted traditions. Ike wondered, what kind of people would raise a woman capable of such an infamous act? As he traveled, he couldn't shake the curiosity that gnawed at him. Was she a heartless woman who played with love, or was there a much deeper hidden story behind her actions? Arriving at the village, Ike was met by curious villagers who were eager to speak about the woman, but most of them spoke in whispers, as though afraid to reveal too much. The village seemed to hold its secrets close, and Ike felt as though he was about to uncover something more than just a scandal, perhaps something more tragic than he could have imagined. The first person he encountered was an elderly woman who offered him the first clue to the story he was about to uncover. She spoke of loss, of a broken heart, and of a love that had been lost to fate. The elderly woman's words lingered in Ike's mind as he walked away from the small hut where he had spoken with her. "Love is a cruel thing sometimes," she had said, her eyes filled with sorrow. The woman told Ike of a tragedy that had befallen the bride long before she ever became the subject of the press. It was a love story that had been overshadowed by an unforeseen tragedy, a love story that had marked the young woman's heart forever. Ike, now intrigued, wanted to know more. He set out to find those who knew her from her childhood, those who had watched her grow. The more he heard, the more he realized that this was no simple case of a woman being scared of commitment or enjoying the thrill of escape. There was pain, fear, and deep-rooted grief buried beneath the surface. Ike was beginning to see a different side to the woman he had set out to expose. Ike was invited into the home of the woman's family, where he met her mother and younger brother. Both seemed reserved, not particularly welcoming, but neither outright hostile. As they spoke, Ike learned that the woman had always been a quiet child, deeply sensitive and constantly withdrawn. Her mother, with tears in her eyes, spoke of the day she lost her husband and how her daughter had never truly recovered from the grief. The more Ike listened, the more he began to see the weight the woman carried. There was a deep connection between the runaway bride's fear of commitment and the unresolved trauma of losing her father at a young age. Her mother revealed how, after her father's death, her daughter had shut herself off from love. Ike, who had assumed that her behavior was just a result of a love for drama, now understood that this was about more than just personal preference. It was about unresolved pain. Ike's investigation led him to one of the women's former suitors, a man who had been left heartbroken on the day he was to marry her. His eyes were filled with anger when he spoke of the day she left him at the altar. He recounted the months leading up to the wedding, how the woman had seemed hesitant, but he never could have imagined that she would ultimately abandon him without a word. As Ike listened to the man's story, he began to piece together the emotional scars the woman carried. It was clear to Ike now that the woman's fear wasn't just about commitment, it was about the painful memories of her past. She had suffered so much, and she had been unable to move beyond the trauma. The man's anger was justified, but Ike couldn't help but feel sympathy for the woman. The more Ike delved into the woman's past, the more he uncovered about the love she had lost. Before her father's death, she had been in love with a man in the village. Theirs was a love that seemed to be made for fairy tales. They had plans, dreams, and a future together. But tragedy struck when the man, her first love, was killed in a car accident just before their wedding. The woman's heart had broken, and she was never the same after that. Ike learned that the woman's fear of commitment stemmed from the deep wound left by her first love's death. Each time she tried to fall in love again, the memories of her lost love would resurface, paralyzing her. Ike had started out wanting to expose her as a villain, but now he was beginning to understand her pain. He questioned his previous assumptions about love. Could it truly be as simple as what people saw on the surface? Or was there more to it? Ike stumbled upon a collection of old letters, tucked away in a box at the woman's family home. These were letters written by her to the man she had loved and lost. They spoke of deep longing, of dreams unfulfilled, and of a pain so raw that it could hardly be put into words. As Ike read each letter, he could feel the woman's love and her loss. It was clear now that she had never really let go of the past, and each failed engagement had only been a reflection of her inability to move on. The letters were filled with promises and regrets, a testament to the love that had never been fully realized. Ike knew that he had stumbled upon something that no one else had seen, something deeply personal and vulnerable. His initial mission to expose a scandal had taken a sharp turn. The woman was not just the runaway bride. She was a woman trapped in the sorrow of her past, trying to protect herself from a future that might repeat her old pain. As Ike spent more time in the village, speaking with those who knew the woman, he began to feel a change within himself. He was no longer focused on exposing her. He was focused on understanding her. He had once been cynical about love, seeing it as a mere game people played, but now he was starting to see it differently. He could feel the weight of the love the woman had lost and the fear she carried with her. Ike realized that love was not always as simple as it appeared in the tabloids. Sometimes love came with heartbreak, with fear, and with scars that never fully healed. His own views on love, once firm and unyielding, were now in question. Could love truly heal the deepest of wounds, or did it leave scars that lasted a lifetime? Choice Ike's investigation took him deeper into the woman's past, leading him to a decision point. He had learned everything there was to know about her, but he hadn't yet spoken to her. She had lived in the shadow of her past for so long that she hadn't been able to move forward. But Ike felt a deep sympathy for her and wondered if she could ever truly find peace. He knew that the woman would have to confront her fears and pain before she could move on. The choice was hers, but Ike couldn't help but wonder if the woman would ever be able to break free from the chains of her past. Could she ever truly embrace love again, or was she destined to run away forever?